The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the park, its golden light filtering through the trees. An elderly man sat alone on a weathered bench, his cane resting beside him. His dark skin bore the lines of time, his presence quiet yet commanding. James Holloway closed his eyes, inhaling the scent of fresh-cut grass, letting the gentle breeze carry away the weight of years. Before I go on, I would really appreciate it if you give this video a like, click the subscribe button down below. It would really encourage me to create more videos for you. Thank you so much. Alright, let's continue. The rhythmic tap of boots against pavement broke the peace. A shadow loomed over James, blocking the sun. He opened his eyes to see a uniformed officer, hands on his belt, a smirk curling his lips. Deputy Carson. The nameplate gleamed under the fading light. "You can't sit here," Carson said, his voice thick with authority. James blinked, adjusting his glasses. "Excuse me? This is private property. No loitering." Carson's hand hovered near his radio, the unspoken threat clear. "I'll need to see some ID." James exhaled slowly. He had seen men like Carson before, eager for power, drunk on the uniform. History had a way of repeating itself. He reached for his cane, moving at his own pace, knowing that any sudden motion could be twisted into justification. "Sir, I said now," Carson barked. James held his gaze, unwavering. "And I said excuse me. This is a public park. I've been sitting on this bench for years." Carson scoffed. "Not anymore." A tension stretched between them, thick and suffocating. James could feel the heat of Carson's impatience. But what the deputy didn't notice, what he couldn't feel, was the weight of the camera lens capturing every second. From a few yards away, a figure stood still, phone raised. The red light blinked, recording. Carson's smirk widened as he took a step closer. "You're refusing to comply?" His fingers drummed against the handcuffs on his belt. James remained still, gripping the handle of his cane. "I didn't refuse anything. I simply asked why." His voice was calm, measured, a stark contrast to the tension crackling in the air. Carson chuckled, low and condescending. "You people always have an excuse." With a sudden jerk, he snatched James's cane, yanking it from his grasp. The old man swayed but didn't fall. The world blurred for a moment, the loss of balance momentary, but enough. James clenched his jaw, steadying himself. Carson twirled the cane between his fingers, inspecting it like some useless prop. "You don't need this. You're walking just fine." A few park-goers turned their heads, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Yet no one stepped forward. James had seen it before, the hesitation, the silent prayers that trouble would pass them by. James straightened, his voice quiet but firm. "That's not yours." Carson grinned. "You won't need it where you're going." He reached for his radio. "Got an uncooperative." His words cut off as a voice, cold and authoritative, sliced through the air. "Deputy Carson." The smirk vanished. Carson turned, his hands still gripping the radio. A woman stood behind him, her stance unshaken, her expression unreadable. Tall, dark suit, eyes sharp as cut glass. She held up a phone, the red recording light still blinking. "Step away from him." Carson's fingers flexed. "Who the hell are you?" The woman took a step forward, her gaze locked onto his. "The last person you want to ignore." Carson squared his shoulders, his grip tightening on the radio. "Ma'am, this doesn't concern you." His voice wavered, just slightly. The woman remained unfazed. She held up her phone, the screen displaying a paused video. Him sneering, yanking an old man's cane, taunting him. The evidence burned in the dimming light. "It concerns me now," she said, her voice edged with steel. Slowly, she slid a badge from her blazer, the gold emblem catching the last streaks of sun. "Internal affairs." Carson's face paled. His posture stiffened, but he forced out a laugh. "You gotta be kidding me." "No, but you are." She turned the phone's screen toward the gathering crowd. A few gasps rippled through the onlookers. Whispers of disbelief. A woman muttered, "He really took the man's cane?" James stood silent, watching the shift unfold, his expression unreadable. Not powerless. Not forgotten. Carson's throat bobbed. He turned back to James, his arrogance cracking. "This guy." "James Holloway," the woman interrupted. "Retired federal judge." A sharp inhale. A flicker of panic in Carson's eyes. The weight of his mistake crashed down all at once. The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice just enough. "And everything you just did? It's on record." Her lips curled slightly. "I hope you're having a good shift, officer. It's about to be your last." The crowd pressed in, their murmurs growing louder. Carson's chest rose and fell in quick bursts, his mind scrambling for an escape. But there was none. The woman, badge still glinting in the dying light, tapped her phone. A familiar voice crackled through the speakers, his own. "You people always have an excuse. You won't need it where you're going." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A man shook his head in disgust. Someone whispered, "Unbelievable." Carson's face twisted. "This is out of context." The woman's gaze was sharp. "You know what's out of context, officer?" An old man losing his cane because of a power-drunk deputy. Her tone was calm, controlled. The kind that made men sweat in courtrooms. James finally spoke, his voice even. "How many times have you done this, son?" Carson opened his mouth, but no words came. The woman pulled out her own radio. "Deputy Carson, by order of Internal Affairs, you are placed on immediate suspension, pending an official investigation." She motioned to two officers now pushing through the crowd. "Hand over your weapon and badge." Carson's hands clenched into fists. His face burned as the two officers stepped forward. For the first time, he was the one taking orders. Carson's breath hitched as the officers flanked him, their presence stripping away the power he had once wielded so carelessly. His fingers twitched near his holster, but hesitation sealed his fate. Slowly, stiffly, he unlatched his belt, handing over his gun and badge. The weight of silence was crushing. The crowd, once passive, now emboldened, watched his downfall unfold in real time. A woman in the back muttered, "About time." Another man crossed his arms. How many others did he do this to? James Holloway stood tall despite his age, his cane returned to his grasp. His gaze was steady, unreadable. He had seen men like Carson before, but rarely did he get to watch them fall. The woman, Hallie Bennett, Internal Affairs, tilted her head. "You thought the badge made you untouchable." Her voice was quiet, but Carson flinched as if she had struck him. "But the moment you used it to strip others of their dignity, that's when it became your undoing." Carson's jaw clenched. "This is bull. Enough." Hallie's eyes flicked toward the officers beside him. "Escort him out." The cuffs clicked shut around Carson's wrists, the same ones he had so eagerly reached for moments ago. Poetic justice in its purest form. James exhaled, the tension in his shoulders loosening as Carson was led away, his face red with humiliation. The badge he once flaunted was now nothing more than a relic of his downfall. A slight smile ghosted James's lips as he turned to Hallie. "Took them long enough, didn't it?" Hallie smirked. "But we got him." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the park. And for the first time in a long while, James Holloway felt like the world had finally caught up to justice.